Hi, and welcome to this podcast. I'm joined today by Taco van der Pomp, who is, I think I'm right in saying, CEO of the CYS Group, a company that's based in the Netherlands. And I thought I should start just by sort of full disclosure here that this is a company that we've recently partnered with. And I think you'll find out a lot more during this podcast about both why we've partnered with CYS and hopefully why CYS think we're good partners. I would describe Taco as a thought leader in delivering customer feedback and customer insights. The CYS Group has developed a state-of-the-art platform for data collection, analysing that data and reporting it. So welcome, Taco, to this podcast.
Hi, Phil. Thank you very much for the announcement, and it's a pleasure to be on the podcast.
That's great. Well, if I can just start by I'd like to find out the position of how your company sees itself in the marketplace. I think this is certainly something that's a growing area, certainly in where I specialise in market research. How do you sort of see CYS as being relevant to market research in 2020?
Yeah, it's the company is founded like 16 years ago, so we did a lot of research ourselves. But at the position we are now with the new platform we developed, we focus on continuous research, and we are slightly between the business intelligence and the market research, just on both sides. So in the platform, we combine the data with the research with visualization. And you can choose it for whatever you want to use it for, but these are the three main pillars of the system. So it's not specifically a research tool, but it combines research with business intelligence.
Okay, so I mean, I'm interested that you spent a lot of time, effort, I know, getting this new platform out. I think it's been, is it 2 years in development?
Yeah, even longer. So
even longer.
Yeah, we thought of it like 5 years ago.
Right.
But then, yeah, you bumped into all the challenges that you have with developing new software, specifically with the complexity and the flexibility of what we're trying to do. So it took us almost 4 years in developing before we went live last year.
And how do you sort of I know you're working a lot in the customer feedback area. Do you feel there's a difference between customer feedback and sort of what I call traditional market research, or do you think they're all the same, or do you think they need different things in a platform?
Yeah, of course, I think there are different things to it. So what you see is that from my perspective, the market research market has been challenged by specifically software companies in the last decade. So more and more software companies come into the market with software-like solutions, which are not mainly built on market research, the traditional market research as we know it. One of the big differences I see is that it's more focused around continuous feedback, continuous delivery of results, less on project-based research. Another thing is that customers expect more business intelligence-like solutions when they look at reports and information, and they want it on the spot wherever they are in the device which they are using. So those are challenges that we saw in the customer experience and the customer feedback that are slightly different than what people were used to in the market research agency. So I think there are market research hasn't got new competitors mainly from the software markets, the way I look at it.
That's right. I mean, one of the things that I think that's frustrated me in market research is that the traditional way of delivering information to buyers of market research has been providing a PowerPoint presentation, which is, as we all know, is static, not necessarily very convenient to be able to read and dive into.
Yeah.
And I think, I see your platform as something that can actually bring market research data to life a bit more and make it more available to more people, I think, perhaps. Is that something you think?
Yeah, definitely. It's something we hope to achieve with the platform, that it will bring back market research at the position where we think it should be, and that is at the board of a company. So we feel that market research, also the data from market research, we more or less, when we talk to customers about it, or usually the bigger clients, we talk more or less about the soft data. So you have your financials at one end, which is usually in the most companies well arranged. And then you have your research, but also think about audits and checklists and quality management systems. Also your customer feedback, also your employee feedback. So all the different research that is done, more companies are looking to how can I combine this data into good insights from our organization, where we try to build the dashboards and insights from the end user perspective. So as a customer, I'm working in a company, I would like to see my data combined. What you see today in companies that they have customer feedback at one tool, they might have employee feedback in another tool, they will have their audits and checklists somewhere else. So how can you build something that combines this information and make it easier for companies to see where they need to improve at what point in time? So combining the different data into one platform and then allowing users to reach this with the device they want, that was one of the biggest challenges we had. And we think that market research does a lot of good things for companies, but they have some challenge in making sure the data starts living inside the company. And then by combining it with other data sources that the company already has, you can really make a much bigger impact than I think it's done today.
I think that's right. I mean, I think what I see sometimes, it sometimes frustrates me, is that I see market research data, as I was just saying, perhaps ending up in a PowerPoint presentation and then remaining in isolation from any other data that an organization has. And I guess because you work with bigger companies rather than market research agencies often or day to day, you see that pressure to actually get market research data alongside other business data, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
Whether you say that's customer feedback, whether that's various metrics that they have, sales, whatever it might be. And I guess you've got a lot of experience of seeing that and having witnessing that market research data doesn't get necessarily included in that information pile.
Yeah, it's usually two separate worlds, and they communicate not that well. That was one of the challenges we had also in the structure of market research data and the structure of other data types. How do you combine this? How can you make something that can work on both? That was one of the biggest challenges we had. Yeah.
That's right, because I mean, typically market research data is a small number of records with hundreds and sometimes thousands of fields, whereas most other data is a small number of fields with often a lot of records.
Exactly.
Sometimes thousands. So yeah, putting that together is a challenge. And also, I guess the platform's good for pulling together different bits of market research data as well, where perhaps you do a U&A study, some other tracking study, and that information can be pulled together in one convenient place that people can drill down into and look at, which traditionally, again, each project has been treated in isolation in market research even.
Yeah, it's one of the things I think makes the platform unique, is that it has the ability to get a lot of sources in, combining those sources into well-structured projects. And even when this is not enough combination of your data, in the output and dashboards, you can combine multiple projects into one visualization, even into one image, which always allows you to have layers of your data from several places into one good structured look and feel, and everything is built that it will help you, because this is one of the challenges we faced for several years, that most software in market research is not built for continuous measurements. So delivering new versions of your questionnaire while are questionnaires sent out to respondents. How do you do this? How do you work with versioning of your databases? If you change the data structure, how will it work with your reporting? All these kind of challenges to do it every day were also quite big to overcome, I must say.
That's right, and I think what is, I find every time I talk to clients who run tracking studies, their tracking studies might be tracking studies in that they carry them out every 3 months or every month or whatever it might be, but of course the tracking studies don't stay the same, that they change because people want to add in a few questions, take a few questions out.
Yeah.
And your platform, as I understand it, handles that really well and pulls that data together so that it can be tracked over whatever period.
Yeah, one of the key things that we try to do in the research part of the system is build a versioning and release management process for questionnaires. So while your study is still running, you can already place stuff into tests. You can discuss with your customer on the improvements that are done, on the changes that are made in your study. And then you can launch them, and then the system automatically keeps in mind which respondent needs to go to which versions, and it automatically migrates the databases every time you do this to make sure that the dashboards keep running if you change the data structure underneath. So this process seemed like a simple step, but it was a huge, I think it's a huge new feature that is really helpful in running continuous studies.
Yes, I know when I saw that for the first time, I thought this is something that probably a lot of people don't appreciate the importance of, but actually when it comes down to it, the people who sort of work deep down on the data and are doing the work in the back office there know these sorts of problems and understand them, and it's actually quite fundamental to being able to provide data visualization on tracking studies or any other sort of data for that matter.
Yeah, but I think specifically the market research market will see the efforts we put in. They will mainly understand the power of what's happening underneath, while an end client just thinks, okay, nice to see, and then move on to the next thing.
That's right.
But people who run those studies every day, they know the challenges they face every day to do these changes, how you work with the versioning, how you maybe sometimes copy complete projects and then get new versions in, and then so everything that's taken into account in building this and doing it on the spot is mostly appreciated by people who know what they're doing, like in the market research market.
That's right. I mean, interestingly, this came up actually. I had a meeting when I was traveling in Thailand recently, and someone said that tracking studies just get easier and easier the longer they go on, because everyone who's doing the research knows what to expect. The people who receive the data know what to expect, but actually the people who are working in data processing, they get harder and harder typically, because they know all the foibles of the data, and they know that getting it into a set of cross tabulations or something like that can be quite difficult. Whereas this platform is obviously geared to actually dealing with those intricacies of actually managing data, which I think is often underestimated and fundamental to supplying clients with a smooth a delivery of what it is they want to get at in their data. So I think that it really is important. I noticed one thing on your LinkedIn profile, and I thought that you talk about building genuine relationships and aiming to make a difference. And I think that a lot of people claim these sorts of things, but I know you work very closely with your customers to deliver what they want. Have you got any examples of where that's really worked for you? It may be something outside of market research, but something perhaps that you can think of where either you've got an example of that, or perhaps something in your software that has led to be able to deliver what you're suggesting there in building relationships and so on.
I think in general, building genuine relationships, it's something that is more related, I think, to the CYS company and the people I work with and the partners we have, even more than specifically in the software. Of course, the reason the whole software does is it provides you a solution which can help you communicate with your customers, employees, or your business better, which will improve the relationships that you have as a customer. So one of our main goals is, of course, to help our customers improve relationships with their customers and clients and other stakeholders. And hopefully when people work with CYS, they will notice that the characters and the people that work together in the company are all really wanting to make a difference. They really want to go for a good end result, and they will do anything they want. And I think to make a difference is specifically built into the product with the flexibility of what can be achieved. So we try to build a platform where what is usually a workaround, all the workarounds people do to get projects, keep them up and running, we try to make this our core functionality to make sure you can really have an impact. And I think there's one nice example I can make for an end customer. It's a supermarket chain, which helps to make a difference. So what we did there, how do we make a difference? They were running several projects, don't pinpoint it, but I think it's around 13 projects now that we have running for them. And all these 13 projects are related to to law checks that need to be like, do you sell alcohol to minors? They combine hygiene regulations, also customer feedback. It's all different types of research they do. And what we did for them, we built a solution where we combine all those 13 sources into one dashboard and visualization, for example, to store managers, regional managers, and the board, which allows them now to, with one click, see exactly where they stand on all measures that are being done. And everything is made quite simple into, you can have in-depth if you look at a project, but for a manager that gets a lot of information on his plate every day, we made it as simple as possible, just with red, green, and orange, knowing exactly where, at what point you need to dive in to see what you need to improve. And there we really made an impact. And one of the other things we did there is what you usually see at end clients, that it's logical. The bigger the company, a lot of stuff changes. So for example, they change regional managers almost on a weekly basis. They change locations, they change all this stuff continuously. And what we did when we used to work with them several years ago, what we did is every month we changed all the source data that it will run again like it should run in the correct structure of the organization, so that the reports, the first week of the month, the reports are completely spot on. Everybody sees the correct information, and at the end of the month, the shifts are not directly changed in the data because it's all connections. There's not really one source that can handle it. But in the new platform, when a change is done, they just send they can do it through an API or they can do it manually, but they will change at one position in the system. They will change it, and automatically within 4 hours, all projects are updated, all dashboards are updated, and everything is running in the structure where it should be. So if they now change a manager, instead of waiting till the end of month and then we do the change, they can do it within 4 hours. And this is really making a difference in the company. So getting the data always right for the end user, it's crucial in how much they can do with it. So these are things that we learned from customers where we could improve and which are now in the platform, which we are really proud of.
Yep, no, I think that really does make a contribution, and you know, I think market research agencies can gain from those sorts of things as well, bringing it back perhaps to my world a little bit more. I mean, many of our listeners to this podcast are probably from market research agencies, and I've grown to believe that market research is no longer about three distinct phases of collecting data, analysing data, and then somehow pushing it to the data in some delivery format. And it's increasingly becoming, I think, one process where buyers of research want to get from their raw data to be able to visualize that data quickly and effectively. I mean, does that concur with your thinking that it's now about speed, accuracy, and those sorts of things?
It's exactly why we changed CYS and why we started from scratch to build this new platform years ago, because we wanted to deliver this to our customers. That's what we try to do, and to make this work, we needed to build it up from scratch again, because it's not how it's done today, and that was the big challenge. And I think also specifically for market research agencies is try to get the human factor out of the basic the process of data management. So the challenge is also because it slows it down. That's what we did. We came from a market research agency background, and what we did manually every month, we did all the changes. It is not cost effective. It slows the process down, and the customer is always 2 steps behind. While we are working really hard to get it done correctly, still the customer is not extremely happy. They understand it. They won't complain about it because it's in all systems they use. It's everywhere. But specifically in your data visualization platform, you want it to be as correct as you can get it. So everything that is not correct there makes a negative impact at the end users, any way you explain it. And I think making sure this process runs automatically every day, 24/7, that is quite important. And then it will lower the hours, it will lower the cost. So delivering this for less money, faster, that is that's something you can make a big impact with as a research agency.
Sure, and we talked a lot about sort of, I won't say data management. That always sounds so boring when you talk about data management, but again, it's a really important area. But looking about actually what the platform delivers, perhaps getting into the sort of features of it, and we haven't actually mentioned real-time data, but I know that's a very important part of the platform. But talking about actually what platforms can look like and how the look and feel of them can be customized, the use of infographics, how have you approached that, and how important do you think that is to customers?
Yeah, I think it's crucial for customers to make it look like it's close to their branding, that that you can make it exactly the way you want to. So we did a few things. One of it is the data management platform. You can import, you can combine data with drag and drop functionality, and you can improve data with easy to use front end using rule engines, which at the back end create scripts. So those three steps make it quite easy to do quite complex stuff. So import it from different sources, drag and drop it, and improve the data in the process. You build it, and from that moment on, the rules will run the way you want to. That is a big thing to keep the data structure correct. A correct data structure is the basis for a good dashboard and a good visualization. If you don't have a good data structure, it's difficult to build really nice dashboards. So that was the first thing we needed to manage. And then the second thing is creating a dashboard environment where you can build dashboards extremely flexible. You just mentioned infographics. So what we built, for one example, we have around 100 plus visualizations, but one of the things which people really like is the infographic widget. And what it does is just any image that can be designed, if you just export it from a normal design program into SVG, you can put the SVG code in the system, and then you can connect your display points to it. For example, output from your research, the number of respondents, an NPS score, an employee engagement score, answers to checklists, whatever you want to do with it, you can just connect it to the graphic that you just hang in. And this way you can design any management dashboard that you want, connect it to the data, and from that moment on, it will run for you. And the delays from an import to a dashboard are less than a few minutes. So all these processes run continuously in the system. All is built with pipelines that will automatically manage when you increase the number of records. And this means a record pops in. Seconds later, the invite is out. Someone fills it in. Seconds later, it will be added in the dashboard. And all supported with triggers if you want to, and all supported with nice visualizations. So.
Yeah, and we talked about infographics there briefly, and of course, it should be said, because it almost goes without saying, but all the sorts of things like producing tables of figures and charts and of all types, of course, that's all in the platform as well, so that people can present data as they want to. But yeah, I know you spent a lot of time and effort masterminding this platform. It's been something that I know you've worked really hard on them for several years, as you said. What do you think the CYS platform offers? Perhaps other software doesn't, or perhaps others are less well designed, that puts it perhaps in a place of its own.
Yeah, I think if you look at our competitor market, when you compare us with some software agencies, the big giants like Medallia or Qualtrics, if you compare us with those, we have the specifically data management part in the system, which is usually not part of it. So that is a big impact, and everything is built on continuous research with versioning of your questionnaire and all the stuff taken care of. These are two big changes. If you look at it from what kind of research is done, you see that we have added specifically the audits and checklist as a part of the system, which customers are quite happy with using, which we also see that in the marketplace, in end clients, they don't have solutions for this usually. So it's an easy, quick upsell for a customer. So we have quite some customers that were just using our customer feedback system. Now they are migrated to to this new platform, and they are adding audits to it, checklists to it, and combining this data into one dashboard. So that is a big thing that we have. We have a mobile app that works on this, so people can fill in results with their mobile app, and it's collected into the platform. So I think these are things that make us special. So specifically, the data management is, from my perspective, the biggest.
Sure.
The biggest thing, and the flexibility. So if people use the system, sometimes in the beginning, you need to get your head around it, but flexibility is at every phase in the system something we try to build in as our core functionality. Because as everybody knows, everybody wants slightly different things. So you rather have something that's flexible enough that can grow with you than having something that is too fixed. Yeah.
Sure. And we're coming near to the end of the podcast now. Just a sort of few other questions. I mean, I like to ask this question because I know I rant occasionally when I write blog articles. But is there anything in market research, from your knowledge, that frustrates you'd like to see done better? Perhaps not just putting stuff into data visualization and online dashboards, but is there other things that you think market research could improve its product? Because I'm always interested in people's thoughts on this.
I think they could take a bigger piece of the pie if you look at the positioning they take. So what I see is that the world is shifting a bit, and I think market research should claim their position again at the board of directors by adding visualization of other kinds of data to it. So having a bit wider look than only the research. Because I think it's a better position to be in. And I think market research, one of the things I think it would be good if they partner up more with software agencies, because I think together they are strong. So the knowledge is within the market research agencies, but building good software is quite difficult for a single research agency. So I think combining the two is extremely important.
Sure. And I don't believe for 1 minute that you've been on this drive for the last 5 years, that you're going to stop now. What thoughts have you got about the next 2 or 3 years? What's ahead for you?
For CYS, it's investing in the partner network. It's quite important for us. One of the biggest pillars we are adding this year is market research agencies, to be more fit for them, to be the best partner we can be. So that is a big thing related to the discussion today. But other than this, it's opening up our platform with APIs. It's one of the things that is on the agenda for this year.
Sure.
Keep increasing functionality, of course, and making it even better suitable for BI data is one of the big things we are going for. So the platform is, of course, built from a market research background, but adding more functionality specifically for research and adding more functionality specific for BI, those two things will be important for us this year. And then opening up everything with APIs that people can develop in and around our platform. That is one of the other things we are looking for the next year. And after this, it is we're making first steps into AI, artificial intelligence. So the ideas are there. We know where to do it. So there are ideas about artificial intelligence implementations that we can work with some bots that can automate specific processes, specific analysis. But that is the aim for 2 to 3 years, where we are looking at.
Sure. And just to say there, on the subject of APIs, that's something that I know we're very interested in, linking our software in with an API so that our analytics software can go straight in and give our clients so much more power and immediacy to what they can deliver. So that's something I know we're all interested in.
Yeah.
So I think we've come pretty much to the end, and I always end these podcasts with 2 much more difficult questions for you, or maybe not difficult questions. And I know you've just come back from India, so I ought to ask you: is your favourite food Indian food, or is there some other type of food that you like most?
That's definitely Asian food, and I really have a feel for Indian food. So Asian food is different Asian food. I like all the Asian food. but specifically Indian food. India has a special place in my heart, I must say.
Yeah.
We started developing there. The relationship I have there with the people, I really like it. I like the atmosphere, and I definitely like the food. It's much better than the Dutch food, I must say.
I think I'd agree with you there.
Yeah.
And finally,
Yeah.
what's your favourite country you like to visit? Is it India, or is there somewhere else that you really like to visit?
It definitely depends what I want to do there. So I really like the mountains. I like skiing. That is one of my big things. Yeah, I definitely like to visit India. I go there 4 times a year, and I always like it. I always come back with more energy than when I go, and that's really important for me.
I'm sure the people in the office there in Pune will be pleased to hear that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much for joining me today on this podcast. It's really been good fun talking to you. I really appreciate it, and I hope a lot of people get a lot out of this podcast and be keen to talk to us and hear more about what we've got to say. So thank you very much, Taco.
Thank you, Phil, for inviting me. Really nice to be in the podcast, and of course, hopefully, people are interested and willing to spend a few minutes of their day to listen to what we have to say.
Sure. Thanks very much indeed.
Okay, thanks, Phil.
Okay, all the best.
Bye-bye.
Bye.